Welcome back to Malaysia and the Monsoon Cup. The final flight of qualification is just about to get underway and it's come right down to the wire. We've got Bruny versus Rashard, Gilmore versus Robertson and Minoprio versus Koo. And both Bruny and Minoprio need to win these flights, these races to make sure they definitely get through to the quarterfinals. Minoprio, a former world champion, he doesn't want to be dropping out of the qualification stages here at the Monsoon Cup. You can see the boats are circling behind us. The 7-minute flag has just gone up. We are into our start sequence. So let's hand over to our commentary team, double world champion Simon Shaw and sailing journalist Alan Block.
Thank you very much, Ali. And we are going into the final flight here at the Monsoon Cup. And I tell you what, this is where it's going to get decided. The final flight of qualifying. And then we're moving through to the quarterfinals.
And that first match, imperative for Francesco Bruny to take this one. He's had a sort of middle-of-the-road performance so far. Francesco of America's Cup fame, multiple America's Cup, most recently with the Luna Rossa team, doing a phenomenal job there with a team without perhaps the fastest boat. And here he is on 5-5, and he's going to have to take this against Mathieu Rashard. Rashard looking so good in that last race with a brilliant downwind performance to eke out a victory and send Keith Swinton packing.
And listen, for Francesco Bruny, it's about the scorecard, but it's also about momentum moving into this next round. You know, he needs to pick his feet up. Really, you know, he came into Bermuda, marched all the way through to the final, dispatched Taylor Canfield, you know, 3-0. He stood next to me if he wants to defend himself, but that was a good old showing. And, you know, then beat Ben Ainslie in the final. And I tell you what, Ben Ainslie could be rusty, he could be dusty, he could be whatever you want to call him, but I've never had an easy match against that guy. And he beat him in an epic five-match sail-off there in the final of Bermuda. And he needs to find his way here.
So we are 5 minutes.
Getting ready for entry.
So let me clarify things before we tell you anything. The tiebreak situation, we're not sure who's going to make it through. It might be Keith Swinton, might make it through despite last loss. Bit difficult to calculate on the fly as a little bit of rain sets itself on the course. Really nice breeze yet again. And boy, you'll know very soon who's advancing, and you'll know very soon who's going to pick who as they head to that quarterfinal round. We're getting ready for an entry here, I think, Simon.
So Mathieu Rashard, Francesco Bruny, both looking for momentum as we move forward in the Monsoon Cup. Neither of these guys can get their hands on the Apari World Match Racing Tour trophy, but they can get their hands on their share of $500,000 prize money available here for the Monsoon Cup alone. Both these guys looking for tour cards going into the 2014 series. Rashard with the sweep of the bow moves to a blocking position above Francesco Bruny. Pre-start dance commences from here. Rashard looking to try and preserve that distance away from Bruny, trying to keep that gap as big as possible and keep control of his bow, keep that bow into the wind. You can see the bowman using the jib and Rashard the first to blink. I think getting a little close, deciding to lead away on starboard, sensing that Francesco Bruny was a little bit down on port, and you can see that working very effectively. Bruny struggling to follow him off to that right-hand side.
And I think Bruny in general, he's been used to sailing light, really fast boats too much lately, but Bruny's had a little bit of trouble getting this boat rolling quickly. And here we see it again, but Rashard, I think we talk about momentum, and here it comes back.
So there, the helm over from Bruny. He's saying, I've got my helm over, I've got my helm over. He's communicating to the umpires. Mathieu Rashard all the way round, sweeps rounds again and dials up Francesco Bruny. And now Bruny under a little bit of pressure. There, the tack from Rashard. And Bruny again tries to follow. He is slower. Will Rashard be able to dial him up again? Here comes the Frenchman. Will he tack or jibe into this?
Bruny's got Nick Hutton on the bow. He's got Javi Fernandez on tactics and Max Serena and Pierluigi De Felice on his crew.
Here comes Rashard. He's going to try and dial him up again there. The sweep of the bow. Francesco Bruny bow up, looking to try and roll across the front. I think he's sort of managed to do that, but Mathieu Rashard The wily Frenchman tacks underneath now. He still has Bruny blocked off, and he's still preventing him getting to that start side of the line.
Well, with 2 minutes left, Bruny has nowhere to go except for tack back, and in which case Mathieu will just keep holding him there above the line.
Here comes Bruny with the tack. Mathieu Rashard will look to try and follow, but Bruny did a nice job there of using his stern to try and block Rashard. Rashard appeals, but I don't think that that'll really come to much. There's the green.
Yeah, Francesco did a nice job of slowing his boat down exactly when he needed to, and not letting Rashard get the bow clear and tack and defend. So Bruny working his way back down to the line now, headed below the boat with 1:20 to go. Definitely early for a start. The breeze holding, even as this little bit of wind settles in, and maybe it's a touch left.
We have America's Cup tactician Andy Green coming over the Twitter talking to us about trying to get to sleep. It's Thanksgiving over there in the US. He's glued to the screen as we watch this final flight here at the Monsoon Cup. So happy Thanksgiving to him. And I wonder which one of these two skippers will be celebrating when they cross the finish line. There, another green flag. Now, Rashard has tacked below the boat ley line. Now, he's going to have to try and get back onto starboard here if he's going to make a start. Is he going to have enough distance that he can get this tack in?
Bruny not letting him get away. Rashard's going to go for it, though.
There goes Rashard through the tack, complete. Bruny appealing. Big appeal from him. I think that's going to be another green. Let's see as Francesco Bruny rolls through. There, the green flag.
Tack was complete, and just 20 seconds to go to a start.
No,
Francesco Bruny is in trouble.
Oh, I tell you what, I actually think Francesco Bruni's done a great job here because he's managed to open up that gap. You saw him just look to tack back, then he paused, realized there was still 10 seconds on the clock. He's now going to be separating. This is your dream start as a match racer. He's starting to the right, so you have the element of control, but you also have the separation, and that means that the likelihood is that Francesco Bruny will be able to hold all the way to that left-hand corner. He can then tack on a lee bow position and really look to control this match. Rashard with a small luff around the pin.
And remember, the left side has negative current, so you don't want to be on the left side. It's coming against you, and Rashard now on the left, he's going to hit that adverse current first, further sending him back. So you've got the eye, Simon. Bruny doing a great job. I thought he was stuck. I thought he was late, but sure enough, he turned that into magic, crossed the line at the gun, and got his windward position. Rashard's trying, but he can't get up to the line.
And listen, every minute that he sail here, Mathieu Rashard is always in a little bit more unfavorable current, and that's why we can see him slowly sliding back. They're moving towards the river of current flowing down the main tidal streak on this left-hand side of the racecourse, and you can see there all the time he's losing. Great start from Francesco Bruny, and that short pause at 15 seconds where he didn't tack back, absolutely clear. That's the sign of you know, a tactician, a helmsman, a sailor really at Francesco Bruny's level.
And really being in tune with the conditions, which are so changeable, you know, and knowing exactly how long it's going to take them to get back to the line. To my eye, it looked like they had far more than 15 seconds. But sure enough, they showed that I was wrong and that you were right again. It's great to have a two-time world champion here in the booth. And Simon, these guys have been at it for a long time. You've sailed against both of them. Who do you think's got it in this race? Who do you think's going to go home with this one?
Well, listen, I've been watching Mathieu marching through this competition. He's just been very unassuming, very quiet, quite passive actually. And you know, I suspect in the long run that may be his undoing. But you know, I think he's sailing pretty well. They're a real solid team. Francesco Bruny, I think, is a slightly different sort of kettle of fish really at this point. I think they've got loads of potential in that team. The question is, can they line it all up and actually be able to fire as they move through into the latter rounds? They're maybe a little short on match racing decision-making assistance from Francesco Bruny. I think he's been struggling, and they've got great boat speed sailors, very sort of expansive, brilliant fleet racing, you know, talented boat handling sailors. But do they have that judgment on board that's really going to assist Francesco Bruny when he's struggling? And I think so far during this regatta, they haven't really had that. Right. Francesco's a little off color, and he hasn't got the guy next to him to go, hey buddy, just you know, that pause there, that was one of the first, that was Francesco Bruny at his best. You just saw him see that start, the availability of that start, and change his plan in the final 10 seconds, and now he's in the lead. I mean, as we say that, actually, Mathieu Rashard isn't that far behind, you know.
You know what? As soon as they flopped onto port, Rashard started sailing really fast, and I don't know if it's maybe it's
I think he's over ley line, to be honest with you. I think Francesco Bruny is on the ley line. He'd have held him all the way to the point where they were both comfy lay, and so we'll see Mathieu Rashard round. We can see there's actually, is that an exclusion mark? Now this could be interesting. That is a drifting. Is that a drifting exclusion mark? Or is that actually just, no, that is on the outside of we know that there are some big concrete pillars where they put the foundations in to build a bridge over the harbour.
And that hasn't really come into play until now.
And so there they had to both reach around that mark. Now that will hurt Mathieu Rashard, because Bruny's done a nice tight rounding on the exclusion line, and Mathieu Rashard is going to have to now be down on his line and sucking a little bit of gas.
Rashard's crew is Greg Evrard, Thierry Brienne, Olivier Erledon, and Francois Verdier.
You can see there's the mark they're going to. It's, I think, the yellow mark, and Francesco Bruny looking to stay as high as he can to try and get Mathieu Rashard down into his dirt. So they're not actually even sailing towards the mark right now. They're sailing up past it. And it's now this game of cat and mouse. Who's going to bring the bow down first?
And with a solid 1.5 boat length lead right now, when Rashard turns, it's just going to grow.
And so you can see there, Francesco Bruny has done a nice job. That, you know, that boat and a half length lead wasn't there. He was maybe only half a boat length ahead before. So he's managed to eke out a couple of lengths as he brings the bow down. Mathieu Rashard will match. You can see the mark. Bruny's bow coming into view. And you can see this current is starting to flow faster and faster. This is the Monsoon Cup as I remember it. You know, when we arrived out here on the first couple of days, I was a bit like, where has the current gone? You know, and now we can see they're out on the race course. This is more what we're used to. Couple of knot current gradient, a place to be and a place not to be, and that favours generally the more complex sailor. You know, because the seat of the pants combative match racer is really good when it's a 50-50 because they just win every incident. There, Bruny constructed this race. Great sailing mind, and he's the one that leads Mathieu Rashard by a few seconds around the first top mark.
Beautiful set from the French team. And
now,
straight to the jibe.
Look what Mathieu Rashard learned in the last match. That jibe set, that is a good way to attack. And he now leads that. But Francesco Bruny, I'm sure he was watching for the shore as well, because if I'm not mistaken, he's also on starboard. He's just thrown it through the jibe right away, get into that favourable current.
Bruny just took a sort of a 5-second count and popped it over and had a nice jibe. Rashard a little bit of a slower jibe, and I don't know that Mathieu is going to get himself in a position to attack here until the jibe.
And that is exactly what Mathieu Rashard should have done in that last match against Swinton. Obviously, he came back and won anyway, so we'll let him off. But you know, unforgivable, really.
Now with this distance, I mean, he definitely looks like he's got a nice spot to attack when the jibe comes if he can stick one.
I mean, their problem is that there's only going to be a little bit of time on the other jibe. Really, you have to attack on the long jibe, and this one, it's perhaps 4-5 this way. You know, it's a much longer jibe, and I think Mathieu Rashard has realised that, and he's just come up a little bit to try and get closer to Bruny.
Now, Simon, why are these teams not doing jibe sets immediately? Why are they set and then jibe and giving away all that extra distance on the left?
I think essentially they are. They've got so good at their boat handling that the rate of turn that they can achieve, like the full speed turn around the mark, essentially they've got time to get the spinnaker up with the pole and then pop it off and turn it up the other side. So they're not a spin jibe set. There are some times where you might go in there and absolutely throw it through.
Wait, let's check it out. Rashard jumping on the Simo jibe. Will he have enough time here to get on top before the bottom gate? I don't know, and there's really only one direction to go here at the bottom with this current kicking and the rain falling up in the mountains. That's Keiko Bruny aboard Luna Rossa.
Here comes Bruny. Just got to be sensitive to the other boats in the pre-start. No Prio there with sending against Coup.
That's Max Serena hauling in the line. We've got 2 or 3 Italians aboard and a Spanish and a Englishman. The official language aboard Luna Rossa is English.
So, yeah, I mean, Nick Hutton described it as 80% Italian, so they may think they're speaking English. I'm not sure he's understanding any of it.
Well, you heard Francesco talking. 3, 2, 1. It's pretty much English. Not yet in full hiking conditions.
And here you can see a recreation of the same incident, you know. Mathieu Rashard forced attack. Now, if I was Mathieu Rashard, my key there would have been to come out deep and just look to throw some tacks at Bruny. You know, he needs to be doing 25 tacks in the next 40 seconds. If he just ends up sailing all the way out to this right-hand corner,
same thing.
It's going to go bad for him.
We see the deltas remain the same from the top to the bottom mark, 11 seconds. About a boat length and a half, 2 boat lengths at this speed. And we know for a fact that Mathieu Rashard will advance. Is that right, Simon?
Mathieu Rashard is through on 6.
All right, and Bruny, we think may advance depending on this. He for sure, if he wins this, he advances.
I think Bruny's looking strong on countback, but we'll bring you all the updates once we're through the line. It does depend a little bit on Adam Minopra as well, who's also only down there on 5 wins. He's sailing against Malaysia's Jeremy Koo.
And as exciting as this is, the slate gets wiped clean after this one, and we get to see it all start over again with 8 teams advancing. It certainly looks like Keiko Bruny is going to be one of those teams with this spectacular performance here in the southwesterly breeze.
So Bruny now slowly putting the knife into Rashard.
And why do you think he's not going for the tacking duel here?
I don't know. You
I mean,
know,
what other options does he have?
I mean, I think what he's thinking, I think what his game is, his only strategy at this point could be going, you know what, downwind is my best option to attack. All I'm going to try and do is try and keep it as close as possible up this beat. And perhaps I mean, it really doesn't make a lot of sense though, I have to say. Like, he's just following him off to the
right
unfavored side.
Deja vu all over again. Same spot, same exclusion mark around that concrete pier.
I mean, he's just sailing around like, looks a little bit like they're going to start handing out sandwiches.
These Foundation 36s actually have engines, unlike many of the boats on the World Match Racing Tour. So they could have a fridge and everything. I think they do have a fridge.
Oh, I tell you what, there's no fridge down there.
There was a debate amongst the skippers as to whether they should be allowed to use some of the instruments that are on board. There are depth sounders, there are speedometers on board, and I think there was an objection from some of the skippers as well.
Well, I think I think it was Taylor Canfield was there in the briefing. He was sort of saying, well, you know, we haven't really factored in how to use them. And there was a little smirk from Bill Hardesty. I think he's like, well, it's not difficult to learn. Boat speed, depth. Come on, Taylor. Even you guys can figure that out.
Well, remember though, Bill Hardesty, a big boat sailor, Taylor Canfield, a little boat sailor. So maybe he's never used one of those.
I think it's one of those things where, you know, you look for those, you always try and manage the playing field to your advantage. And Taylor perhaps perceiving that Bill and Ian and the guys with a little more big boat experience would have some advantage. I think Bill's just sitting there going, seriously? It's like depth and boat speed. You know, what do you want me to do with that?
Taylor's at the end.
Taylor's down the end of the pier. He's waving his arms around. As I said, any defense, you know, come down here and get on the microphone.
These guys have been great. They've been great helping us out on the broadcast and just being the fun characters they are. These teams are spectacular. The guys are personable. So much youth in this fleet. So much vibrancy and energy. And I think if we just add maybe an all-women's team, we'd have the full package. What
do you mean? You would have Bill Hardesty, a full-women's team? That's the spectrum, is it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh man, we're going to get in trouble.
I know. Well, Mathieu Rashard is definitely in trouble in this race. Keiko Bruny sailing a spectacular race, flawless, really, from that start. Maybe not the pre-start, but he put himself in a great position at the start, sailed away, and has extended here on the final leg. He's got about a 20-plus second advantage now easily, as the wind is starting to decrease a little bit, and we hope it holds for a while. And as we've said, the boats on the right, well, looking downwind here, get into current quite a bit faster. And that changes the race course today. So a very different course as Keiko Bruny carries that red spinnaker down to the line. Simon Shaw, take us to the finish.
Now, Francesco Bruny he was under pressure coming into this match. He knew that 5 wins, somebody's going to go out of this regatta on 5, and Francesco Bruny was on 5 coming into this race. He came up against Matteo Rashard, but he now comes down towards the line. Now, seems to be taking his spinnaker down him. I think he's just coming through. He is now through, and it is Francesco Bruny that has cemented his place in the next round. And all that remains to see is who, out of those remaining 3 skippers down on 5 points, who of those 5 will be going out and out of the Monsoon Cup, out of the World Championship. So we're going to go down out onto the water pretty soon with Francesco Bruny. Our man with the microphone for the interview is going to be Sir Block.
Well, I love talking to this guy. He's just one of the happiest, smiliest guys you ever see, and yeah, he's a fierce competitor, but just really a spectacular person. And you see him all over the world's racing, whether it's Melgus 32s, IACC boats, TP52s, it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
So how do I?
Whenever you.
Yes, Sam, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Francesco, what a great race from you. It looked to me like that start, you were late. You seemed to know exactly how long it would take you to get to the line, and you started just where you wanted.
Yeah, it was a good start. Rashard had control up to 40 seconds to the start, but as happened many times, you can reverse the situation very quickly, especially with a little bit of wind. It would have been lighter, it would have been a lot harder to reverse the control, but we took the control at 40 seconds and with a perfect time on distance, beautiful speed off the line, and we were able to hang in there up to the obstruction, which obviously helped us a lot.
And Matthew, maybe you were watching the race before when Keith Swinton jumped on top of Matthew Rashard with an earlier jibe. You didn't let that happen. You jibe set right out of the top mark. Is that the key to this race course in this direction, is making sure you can get over to that side as soon as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did a good job to get off on the water early, watch those races. We knew that the river, the current there would have played an important role, and we knew that going early on starboard off the top mark was a key. So yeah, we knew all that, plus it was a big lefty, so it was long starboard downwind, which made the decisions a lot easier.
Well, great stuff from you, Keiko, and good luck in the quarterfinals, man.
Thank you. Bye.
So they're wise words from a very relieved Italian champion.
Does he just make you smile like he makes me smile? I mean,
I tell you what, he was making me smile then. I popped down for a quick interview, and before he went out, before the first match, and he was a little bit cagier, I'm not going to lie. He was feeling the pressure.
We turn to the right, and then we turn to the left.
Now we're just going to have a quick look back out into the race course where we have Adam Minoprio up against Jeremy Koo. And we also have
David Gilmore
up against Phil Robertson.
Yeah.
That's the race we're following right now.
5, 3, 2, 1, rolling here.
That's Jeremy Koo.
Well, we can see there Koo behind Minoprio.
Yeah, long way behind, so.
That moves Minoprio out of the tie break, so I can tell you a man on the shore who would be disappointed to see that. I think that's bad for Pierre-Antoine Morvan. I think his days are numbered in this competition as the way the results are stacked up.
All right, we do have Robertson now against Dave Gilmore. Robertson on turquoise on the right of your screen, Gilmore on the left in pink, fuchsia, violet, whatever you want to call it.
Looks to me like Robertson's in quite a good position. He's heading towards a little more current, but the marks are over there. I mean, it's one of those weird things, you know, those top marks right now with this wind direction are right out there in the tide. Yeah. So there's nothing really you can do about that. Got to get over there at some point. That's where Robertson's heading.
And again, this current, not a tidal current, but it is a river current, and this river drains out a huge set of valleys and hills off to the south. So it rained all night. There's a lot of water making its way out into the sea here as Robertson tacks for the top mark.
Around the mark. There we go, pole coming up.
5, 3, 2, 1, hoist.
And will Robertson go for the quick jibe set?
You know what, I think the way the wind's swung round, they may well be almost laying the bottom mark all the way on port.
Boom out, yeah. 3, 2, 1, rolling.
So Robertson deciding not quite laying, so going with the turn down.
There goes Robertson for the jibe. So there is enough starboard in it to put it in, but he definitely waited longer than the last two matches that we've seen. Let's see if Dave Gilmore follows, but quite a bit of distance between that pair. And I don't know that following is going to do much here. Again, a bit of a one-sided racetrack here with this current. You'll want to get back into the river as soon as you can after you round the top mark and stay out there in the river.
Pressure, I'm happy to go back. Okay, 2, 1, wait up.
We'll see Robertson go for it now. You can hear him calling for pressure. That's a gust of wind coming down to his left. We can sort of see them coming down from up here, but quite a lot of turbulence put out there by this huge building we're in, this match racing center in Kuala Terengganu.
Okay, on lay here.
Gilmore may be clawing back a little bit, but
So
Robertson.
The, right more here, G. Coming up half.
You can see Robertson
move right.
calling a ley line.
We would go with him here though, okay? Probably bouncing him left. Let's go, Jim. Yeah, taking a touch now. Okay, go pole. Dropping in 10.
As they come down to the bottom mark, we can hear the change being signaled. They're going to be going to the nearer red mark. I think Dave Tallis looking just to get these races done and through. We have got a great breeze, and this isn't going to last forever. This is, I suppose, the land breeze before we see the sea breeze later this afternoon, and we'll see the wind do probably a 180-degree shift going into sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon and onwards. And so I know Dave Tallis is looking at this and he's thinking, wow, we got some good breeze here, and we need to get some racing done.
Well, and we also have today, we have the Muslim Day of Prayer break for about an hour and 45 minutes in the middle of the day. So some boundaries, great shots. You can see that current still moving these boats sideways, even down there, all the way on the right of the course. So Robertson sending him out.
And he's only 12 seconds behind here. David Gilmore is still in this match. Robertson is up on 6 wins, so he's through to the next round. David Gilmore only on 2.
Now it's just about bragging rights. At the moment, the Kiwi getting better of the Aussie crew behind.
I think 2010, I think it was, so it was these guys that were fighting out to be the qualifier to get into the Monsoon Cup, that being Phil Robertson's sort of break into this sort of level of sailing, if you like. And we can see there Robertson, the man that has really made the best of that.
Oh. Robertson protecting the right side of the course, the left as you're looking down from our cameras, the right side as they look upwind.
2, 1, and up. I think I'm happy to cross over with him here. Yeah. Going in 10. Going in 5. 3, 2, 1. You're almost. 2, 1, and up.
Yeah, the attack from Robertson crossing. I think to just get a little bit of the pressure. He's not into that main tidal stream on the left side of the racetrack yet, so he's safe from that, but in, I think, a slightly better shift, slightly better pressure.
Best judge of the actual wind speed out there is whether there's anyone hiking on these boats. You can just see on Robertson's crew a little bit of hiking, a little bit of bodies out. So still holding at around 7-8 knots, which for this event so far is wonderful, and we couldn't be happier. These boats move very nicely at that wind speed. And Gilmore taking it back to Robertson. He's got to try something.
Here all the way, don't we? Best just to keep going then, right?
And Robertson electing not to keep engaging. Just sail fast and get to the top and round this course. And back here, figure out who's sailing who in the quarterfinal round.
How far to this lake? Still quite a way.
And all these skippers keen, I think, probably to get to the shore.
Okay.
They'd rather come to the shore with another scalp in their back pocket.
We'll have that selection for you shortly. As soon as this match is over, or the one behind it's over, we'll have that selection for you just
That'll be
10 or 20
live
minutes
and
later.
down in the entrance hall. I think we're going to do that there by the official WMRT Garrard Trophy, the Monsoon Cup. All the spectators here in this, you know, huge facility here in Trengganu. Robertson tacks. He's managed to speak very well, I think, you know, just forcing Gilmore the right way, knowing when he took a little bit of tide risk to get the best of the wind, and then, if you like, minimized his wind risk, taking the better of the tide at the top of the course, just managing his risk, making smart decisions. It's very easy to get unstuck out there.
Well, and he's really managed his regatta well. A slow start, as he said to us, he said they tend to start these regattas a lot slower than some guys, but a bit of a slow start. And they built and they built and they built. I don't think they've lost a match in the last 2 days. Robertson really, really strong, and I think now he'll be on 7-4 after this. So that'll be 3 teams tied on 7-4 at the close of qualifying. Just one standout at the top of the leaderboard. American or U.S. Virgin Islander Taylor Canfield and the U.S. 1 team. But
I think Williams up on 8. I think he's out of that tie break.
Oh, did he get to 8?
I think so.
Yeah, my bad. We didn't follow that match. That was the first match of today. Yeah.
Okay, stand by.
But just going down the leaderboard here as we watch
3, 2, 1.
Dave Gilmore roll into a slightly dejected hoist. You can hear how quiet he is. 3, 2, 1. Not happy. But, you know, the good news for Dave Gilmore is it's not a particularly long flight home.
No, and listen, this is about him coming up here and getting some experience, you know, and he's done that, and he's made a good showing. I mean, almost, I don't want to use the word tragic, because it's a little over the top, but, you know, he obviously had that first day, 3 matches where, you know, he wasn't even on the boat. You know, the guy was in hospital on a drip for a while, like, you know, rehydrating after picking up a little bit of a.
He lost about 5 kilos in about 3 hours, so.
It can happen.
Okay, so your angle
and not pretty, but it can happen.
And not before a Melgus 24 event, so. Just going down the list of the guys who are advancing, it's amazing how international this fleet is. We've got, you know, the U.S. or U.S. Virgin Islands. We've got England, New Zealand, Sweden, France, New Zealand, Australia, Italy, and then the guys who we don't think are advancing, we have another France, another Sweden, Australia, and Malaysia. So what a group, what a spectacular group of technicians. And these teams are not necessarily national teams either. We talked about Francesco Bruni's international team, but Taylor Canfield also with 2 Kiwis aboard, an American.
So we've got a question here from Joe Murray quickly over Twitter, who's coming in and saying, you know, really asking more about the race area here and some question I think about, you know, what the temperature of the water is. And at first you're wondering, it's a kind of funny question, but it's actually quite hard to tell really what this place is like over just the you know, the camera angles. It is very humid, it is quite hot, and it's I suppose wet, you know, and the water is you know, is quite tepid. It's, you know, probably up at sort of 22 degrees, 23 degrees. I'm you know, I'm kind of guessing.
Higher. Yeah, higher. In Fahrenheit, it's about 85 degrees, except for right after a big rain when it's a bit cooler. We talked a lot before you came up here, Simon, about the diving that goes on out here, the fishing. It's a wonderfully productive ground for all sorts of animals, in part because all the nutrients flowing out of these rivers. You're looking now. You're looking now at the harbor here, at Trengano Harbor, and that's the race area. We're about a mile wide by a couple mile deep harbor with two big rivers flowing into it from behind you, from behind the camera. And then just outside is about a 2 mile long channel that leads out into the open ocean, which is the China Sea, South China Sea.
So their confirmation, Robertson taking that final win. We are going to go to a final result board. One more update from Twitter before we do that. Tim Olar, I've said that wrong for sure, but he's talking about great to hear the conversations and the passion, you know, getting so gritty out on board. And it's really a question, I suppose, about, he's talking about Rule 42.
O'Leary if you're Irish.
O'Leary, okay, there we go. But anyway, he's talking about, I think, he's talking about Rule 42. I think he's got the rule number wrong because that's propulsion. I think he's meaning more about there are propulsion rules. Rule 42 stands completely here and is enforced by the umpires. You know, you're not allowed to propel the boat. If we're talking about language, then definitely there are pretty strict rules about, you know, how that should be used. But when we're coming into these regattas, you know, when you watch someone's whole world championship evaporate in front of their eyes, you know, occasionally you might hear the old bad word, and you just have to sort of see past that.
And I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's sailors. There will occasionally be blue language, just like if you watch rugby or cricket or just about anything, or NFL football, you'll hear it occasionally. You heard it at the America's Cup, even with a $100 million production broadcast TV, you know, international scene. So this broadcast, though, going out over the world via live stream, and tomorrow live in dozens and dozens of countries, some 50 networks or 60 networks around the world, including Comcast in the U.S., including Sky Sports in England.
We're going to be reaching a lot of people.
I know.
And, you know, it's great to see match racing being beamed around the world. And their confirmation of the final qualifying results here in the Monsoon Cup. Taylor Canfield, US1, he is at the top of the leaderboard, the man on fire, the man to beat here for the Apari World Match Racing Tour. 9 wins, 2 losses. Ian Williams, GAC Pindar from Great Britain, he's there in second place, gnashing at his heels with 8 wins and 3 losses. Bjorn Hansen, eWorks Sailing Team, he's there on 7-4. Mathieu Rashard, Gefco Match Racing Team, he's there on 7-4. As is Phil Robertson, Wacker Racing, 7-4. Francesco Bruny, Luna Rossa, mounting the comeback. He's up there at 6-5, as is Adam Anoprio, Team Apari FX, 6-5. Keith Swinton, the young Australian, sneaking in there with, despite that loss against Mathieu Rashard from Black Swan Racing, he's the man breathing a sigh of relief on 5-6. Pierre-Antoine Mordan, he is the man licking his wounds, tied with Keith Swinton, but he's the man going home, the man not making the cut, also on 5-6. Johnny Berntson down in 10. Not such a great gather from him from the Stena Sailing Team, 4-7. David Gilmore, Team Gilmore, we just saw him. Not the win ratio he was looking for. He's also going home on 2-9. And then Jeremy Koo from Malaysia, a great showing this year, but he is also out with Team KFC. Now we're going to go down and out onto the water where we're going to find Ali Rao to wrap up qualifying as we move through to the quarterfinals.
Thanks very much, Simon. Yeah, we're on the deck. We're waiting for that vital draw for the quarterfinals. The top 4 skippers, Craig Mitchell, Tour Director, are?
Top 4 skippers are Taylor Canfield, Ian Williams, Bjorn Hansen and Mathieu Rashard. And
I suppose it's quite apt that those top 3 are leading. They're the top 3 in the Alpari sort of overall standings.
Yep, the cream has risen, and the 3 pickers will be Taylor, Ian and Bjorn.
Well, it's all there to look for. We finished our qualifying results, our qualifying rounds this morning. It was incredibly exciting racing, went right down to the final flight. So stay with us, we'll be bringing you the quarterfinals later, followed by the semi-finals.